All right. For past generations, college was a conduit to social mobility, the golden ticket on the train to the middle class. However, the journey for college students today is much darker and more insidious than ever before. As you embark on your educational journey, you deserve to know the truth about attending college in the United States of America. So here is the truth. Since 1980, the price of college tuition and fees has increased 260%. At a public four-year university, the average annual cost of tuition in 1980 was around $2,380 when adjusted for inflation. Fast forward to today, and you're looking at $9,970. And the price of college textbooks has increased too, over 1,000% since 1977. 1,000%. Couple in this with the fact that college tuition has outgrown median household income. Housing costs are at all-time highs. And financial aid has failed to keep up with the cost of attendance. Higher education is becoming more and more out of reach for low-income and middle-class Americans. In fact, 45% of students, predominantly low-income and working class, drop out within 6 years of attending. And the number one reason for dropping out is money. This has forced students to have to turn to student loans to be able to finance their attendance. The total amount of student loan debt in the country sits at $1.5 trillion, the second highest debt in America. More than 1 in 4 Americans under the age of 60 have student loan debt, with a total of 44.7 million borrowers. The average student loan debt is $37,172. That's a year's worth of salary for a lot of people. And more than 1 million people default on their student loans each year. And if trends continue, nearly 40% of borrowers will default by the year 2023. This is college in America. This is what the journey of a college student looks like today. You have to choose a school, but not based on the quality of the school or your capabilities as a student, but based on the cost of attendance. You have to take out student loans to pay for your tuition and fees. You'll barely be able to afford your textbooks, might have to skip them a couple semesters because they're too expensive. You'll have to get multiple part-time jobs or a full-time job while you attend, which takes away from your ability to participate in your campus activities. You'll have to prolong your attendance due to money taking you much longer than you plan or expect to graduate. You'll struggle to afford your transportation, your housing, your food. You may find yourself homeless or hungry. And if you're lucky to graduate, you're straddled with tens of thousands of dollars in debt. You'll struggle to find a job, spending your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, even your 50s paying off that debt. And if you default on your loans, like the 1 million people who do each year, your credit is forever ruined, hurting your chances of ever owning a home, preventing you from getting a loan to start a business, halting your plans to start a family, placing undue stress and anxiety that deteriorates your mental health, and putting you in an uphill battle for the rest of your life. This is the reality. This is what college students like us have to look forward to for doing what past generations did before us without nearly as much consequences. This is a broken system. This is an unsustainable system. And this is a predatory system that takes advantage of young and poor people who are just trying to do what they've been told to do their entire lives. Go to college for a better future. Ever increasing tuition costs, a predatory student loan system, bloated administrative compensation, and an exploitative textbook system all show what higher education in the United States has really become. A business. A business that benefits a wealthy minority at the expense of the poor and the middle class. However, unlike other businesses where you can live without purchasing their products, your future depends on this one. It is time the United States of America stops treating higher education as a business and treat it for what it truly is, an invaluable public good. And it's time the United States provides this public good to all of its citizens through tuition-free public college. Now, there are many approaches as to why the United States should offer tuition-free public college. The first approach I want to tackle is the economic approach, because this is what you hear on news and media from politicians and pundits, and is the knee-jerk reaction we all have whenever discussing new and bold ideas. What are the economic benefits? So here's my economic approach towards tuition-free public college. First, tuition-free public college will allow graduates to actively participate in the economy without the burden of student loan debt. Students who graduate with copious amounts of debt are unable to purchase goods and services, support their local businesses, save for future investment, or even start businesses of their own. They're locked down with the debt from the start and are forced to pay it off, which takes them decades until they finally do. Take, for example, the average student loan debt of $37,000 and what that could provide. A 20% down payment on a $185,000 home, a brand new car, a wedding, a swimming pool, but most importantly, the startup costs of a business. You see, we're not only preventing consumers from participating in the economy, we're preventing the future business leaders that start the businesses that create jobs and benefit us all as a society. A study was done by the Levi Economics Institute of Bard College, and they found that if we erased student loan debt today, we could see a boost in GDP of $86 to $108 billion a year and the creation of 1.2 to 1.5 million jobs per year over the next 10 years. By providing tuition-free public college, we will prevent future generations from being locked down with student debt, which in turn locks our economy down. 2, investments in higher education yield high returns. After the Readjustment Act of 1944, also known as the GI Bill after World War II, the government paid to send veterans to attend college. Many years later, Congress commissioned a study to look at this investment. And what they found was that for every $1 they invested in veterans' higher education, there was a $6.90 return in economic output and tax revenues. Take this along with the numerous research that shows college graduates tend to lead healthier lifestyles, which lowers healthcare costs, and college graduates are less likely to commit crime, which saves money on incarceration and criminal justice and reduces crime rates for a safer nation. And finally, in today's highly competitive, technologically advanced global economy, it is important that we have a highly educated workforce that will allow us to compete with nations across the world. By having a system and with astronomical prices that prevents capable students from attending and forces capable students to drop out due to money, will hinder our ability as a nation to compete and will hinder the ability of employers to find qualified American employees. They will be forced to search from abroad. By providing tuition-free public college, we will prevent students from dropping out due to money and will enable students to attend, get their degree, and contribute to the educated workforce. However, when discussing tuition-free public college, we need to move away from the economic debate that dominates the discussion, because it doesn't highlight the true value that higher education provides to an individual and to a society. The economic benefits are merely extra, the cherry on top, as they say. The true value of higher education lies in the social and political role it plays in our country's most treasured feature, our democracy. And if we want our democracy to reach its fullest potential, we should not be putting up financial roadblocks that prevent students from attending, but we should be facilitating attendance to higher education. Here's a list of the major lessons and themes that you learn when you attend college: critical thinking, oral communication, knowledge, creative and innovative thinking. You see, when I look at this list, I don't just see the tools that I'm going to be using in my future jobs. I see the tools that will allow me to be an active participant in my democracy. I see the infrastructure of a democratic society. In order for citizens, all of us in this room, to be able to participate in the decision makings that concern us, we need to be able to do everything on this list: to think critically, to communicate effectively, to be knowledgeable in the public discussions, and to produce solutions to the challenges that face us. And this is where the value of higher education shines. President Harry S. Truman commissioned a report in 1946 to look at the role of higher education in society. And in this report, they express old ideas that need to be made new once again. When discussing the role of higher education, the report says that the role of education in a democratic society is to enable the citizens to understand, appraise, and redirect forces, men, and events as these tend to strengthen or to weaken their liberties. And thus, the first and most essential charge upon higher education is that it shall be the carrier of democratic values, ideals, and processes. Higher education's role is not just to get you a good paying job or for our country to develop employees for a workforce like they're robots. Higher education is not a business. It is an invaluable public good whose role is to develop human potential and to teach and instill democratic values, ideals, and processes that create active participants in our democracy and is essential to the life and growth of our democratic society. And there are 2 points in why it's so important that we offer tuition-free public college to our citizens. The first is that higher education develops future leaders and social competence in our country. By allowing the opportunity for higher education to depend so largely on the individual's economic status, we are depriving the nation of a vast amount of potential leadership and potential social competence, which it sorely needs. By creating and enabling a higher education system in which only the wealthy can afford to attend, we as a nation will suffer. We miss out on the best and brightest among us to lead our country to new heights, and for our citizens to be active, competent, productive members in our democracy. Our future representation will not accurately represent us. It will represent the wealthy. And our future leaders will not be determined by their merit or capability, but by the economic status to which they're born. We have been down this road before, and it does not end well. But education is the defense of the people. Many in our country today point to firearms as the best defense of the people against the threat of tyranny. The best defense of the people in a democratic society does not lie in the barrel of a gun, it lies in the education of its citizens. Long ago, our people recognized that education for all is not only democracy's obligation, but its necessity. Education is the foundation of democratic liberties. Without an educated citizenry alert to preserve and extend freedom, it would not long endure. If we continue with the higher education system that we have today, we will disarm the people over time of their most valuable defense. And in its absence, we will fall victim to the threat of tyranny and fascism. We need to be guaranteeing higher education to our citizens, so that we can defend and protect our liberties and freedoms in the future by enabling our citizens to have the tools necessary to preserve and extend freedom. The higher education system we have today has consequences, economically, socially, and politically. And it's time that we provide solutions to deal with these problems. By providing tuition-free public college to our citizens, we will enhance their right to the pursuit of happiness, we will protect our citizens' most valuable defense, and we will solidify the life and longevity of the democratic foundation on which we stand. Thank you.